In Which We Serve was not just another wartime propaganda film. It was a revolutionary cinematic battleground where artistic ambition collided with national crisis, where class tensions erupted beneath the deck of a warship, and where a playwright turned filmmaker risked everything to redefine how Britain saw itself at war. Behind the camera, tensions erupted between co-directors Noël Coward and David Lean. On set, real naval officers refused to follow directions from actors. In the editing room, government censors demanded changes that would have gutted the film's soul. What audiences saw as a patriotic tribute was born from chaos, conflict, and creative warfare. Today, we are revealing 20 weird facts about In Which We Serve that will change how you see this classic forever. And stay tuned to the end for a bonus fact that even film historians rarely discuss. Number 20. The film's title came from a religious text, not naval tradition. In Which We Serve's title sounds like standard naval terminology, but it actually comes from the Church of England's Book of Common Prayer. The line reads, "We are not here to be served, but to serve." Noël Coward, a man who famously questioned religious institutions throughout his life, ironically chose this deeply spiritual reference for his wartime epic. The title was not just clever wordplay, it was a subversive statement about duty and sacrifice that resonated with British audiences facing nightly bombings. Coward's use of religious language in a secular context created a moral framework for the film that elevated it beyond mere propaganda. This spiritual underpinning gave the film a gravitas that still resonates today, reminding viewers that service to country transcends individual survival. What appeared to be a simple title was actually Coward's masterstroke of cultural coding. Number 19, Noël Coward fought the British government to make the film. The creation of In Which We Serve was not a smooth, government-approved process. It was a battle. Noël Coward, already a celebrated playwright and entertainer, had to fight tooth and nail with Ministry of Information officials who initially rejected his proposal. They feared Coward's flamboyant reputation would undermine the film's serious message. "We cannot have the nation's naval heroes portrayed by a man known for wearing silk dressing gowns," one official reportedly remarked. Coward responded by pulling strings directly with Winston Churchill, who personally intervened to greenlight the project. This was not just artistic determination, it was political maneuvering at the highest level. Coward leveraged his celebrity status and connections to bypass bureaucratic resistance, proving that even in wartime Britain, cultural influence could overcome institutional opposition. The film exists today because Coward refused to take no for an answer. Number 18. The ship was real, but the story was censored. While His Majesty's ship, Torin, was fictional, the filmmakers used real Royal Navy destroyers for filming. What audiences did not know was that the Admiralty heavily censored the film's depiction of naval life. Scenes showing sailors' complaints about conditions, criticism of officers, and discussions about fear were cut or softened. "We must show unity, not division," insisted Admiral Sir James Somerville during production. The film's portrayal of harmonious class relations aboard ship was deliberately misleading. Real naval vessels of the era were rife with class tensions that the film deliberately smoothed over. Coward and Lean had to navigate a minefield of military censorship while trying to maintain some authenticity. The result was a carefully constructed version of naval life that served propaganda purposes more than documentary truth. What appeared on screen as reality was actually a carefully negotiated compromise between artistic vision and military necessity. Number 17, David Lean was almost fired on his first day. David Lean's directorial debut was nearly his directorial termination. On the first day of filming, Lean, who had only edited films before, barked orders at actual Royal Navy personnel who were serving as extras. The sailors, unused to taking direction from a civilian, walked off the set in protest. Noël Coward, the film's star and co-director, had to intervene. "These are serving men, not your theatrical players," Coward reportedly told Lean. The incident created tension between the two co-directors that lasted throughout production. Lean, who would later become one of cinema's greatest directors, learned a harsh lesson about the difference between film sets and real military operations. This early crisis nearly ended Lean's directorial career before it began. The collaboration between the theatrical Coward and the technically minded Lean was constantly fraught with such clashes of approach and personality, making the film's seamless final product all the more remarkable. Number 16, the film's structure was revolutionary and risky. In Which We Serve's narrative structure with its flashbacks within flashbacks was groundbreaking for 1942. The film begins with the survivors clinging to a life raft, then flashes back to tell the ship's story through the memories of different characters. This was not just artistic experimentation, it was a narrative risk that confused initial test audiences. "We're making a propaganda film, not an art house puzzle," complained one studio executive. Coward and Lean insisted on the complex structure, believing it would better represent the multifaceted nature of war experience. Their gamble paid off, creating a template that countless war films would later follow. The innovative approach allowed the filmmakers to explore class differences, personal histories, and the impact of war on families back home, all within a single cohesive narrative. What seemed like a structural choice was actually a political statement about how war affects everyone differently, regardless of rank or position. Number 15. Real naval officers refused to take orders from actors. The production faced an unusual challenge when commissioned Royal Navy officers. Serving as technical advisors and sometimes appearing on camera, refused to follow directions from the film's actors. Several officers walked off the set when Richard Attenborough, in his first film role, was instructed to give them orders. "We take orders from the King's officers, not from theatricals," one lieutenant declared. The standoff lasted hours until Coward, playing Captain Kinross, used his actual rank as an honorary lieutenant commander in the Royal Naval Reserve to assert authority. This incident revealed the deep-seated class and professional tensions that the film itself tried to smooth over. The clash between military hierarchy and film production created an Onset microcosm of the very social dynamics the film was attempting to address. What appeared in the final cut as seamless cooperation was actually the result of constant negotiation between military protocol and artistic necessity. Number 14. The film's famous sinking scene nearly killed cast members. The sequence depicting His Majesty's ship Torrens sinking was not shot on a safe studio set with stunt doubles. It was filmed in actual rough waters with the main actors in the sea. During one take, a sudden wave swept Celia Johnson, who played Captain Kinross's wife, away from the main group. John Mills and Bernard Miles had to break character and physically rescue her from the strong current. "We were genuinely terrified," Mills later recalled. "The water was freezing, and we weren't sure we'd make it back to the support boats." The production's commitment to authenticity went beyond artistic choice, it bordered on recklessness. Health and safety protocols of the era were virtually non-existent, and the cast's discomfort was evident in their performances. What audiences interpreted as realistic acting was often genuine fear and physical distress. This dangerous approach to filmmaking resulted in footage that still feels authentic 80 years later, but at a real cost to the performer's well-being. Number 13. Noël Coward wrote the script in a weekend while suffering from pneumonia. The screenplay for In Which We Serve was not the product of months of careful development. Noël Coward wrote the entire script in a single weekend while bedridden with pneumonia. Delirious with fever but fueled by urgency, Coward produced a complete draft that required minimal revision. "The fever seemed to clarify rather than cloud my vision," he later wrote in his autobiography. This burst of creative energy came at a physical cost. Coward collapsed from exhaustion immediately after finishing the script and required weeks to recover. The script's raw emotional power and structural complexity were products of this intense, feverish creation process. What appears on screen as carefully crafted drama was actually the result of a desperate creative sprint against time and illness. This origin story explains the script's distinctive blend of theatrical precision and raw emotional power qualities that might have been diluted through a more conventional writing process. Number 12. The film's class commentary was deliberately softened to avoid controversy. While In Which We Serve appears to present a harmonious picture of class relations aboard the ship, early drafts of the script contained much sharper commentary about British class divisions. Scenes depicting officers' privilege and enlisted men's resentment were significantly toned down after pressure from both the Admiralty and the film's financiers. "We cannot suggest internal division when national unity is paramount," cabled one government official to the production team. Coward, who came from a working-class background but had ascended to the upper echelons of British society, was particularly disappointed by these changes. The subtle class tensions that remain in the film are mere shadows of what was originally intended. This self-censorship in the name of national unity reveals a tightrope wartime filmmakers had to walk between artistic truth and propaganda necessity. What audiences experience as a realistic portrayal was actually a carefully negotiated compromise that avoided confronting uncomfortable social realities. Number 11. The film was made with wartime rationing and shortages. The production of In Which We Serve faced challenges that went beyond creative differences. Wartime rationing severely limited access to film stock, electricity, and even basic materials for set construction. The crew had to improvise with whatever resources were available. We built sets with cardboard and painted shadows to create depth, recalled art director Lawrence P. Williams. Every foot of film was precious, no second takes unless absolutely necessary. These constraints forced creative solutions that ultimately benefited the film. The limited resources resulted in a visual style that was more suggestive than explicit, relying on audience imagination to fill in details. The black and white cinematography, partly a necessity due to limited color film stock, became an artistic asset that enhanced the film's serious tone. What appears as deliberate stylistic choice was often born of necessity, demonstrating how creative limitations can sometimes produce superior artistic results. Number 10. John Mills and Noël Coward's acting method. Clash nearly ended the film. John Mills, already an established film's star, found himself in constant conflict with Noël Coward's highly theatrical directing style. Mills, a proponent of naturalistic acting, repeatedly clashed with Coward over line, delivery, and character motivation. The tension erupted during the filming of the scene where his character, ordinary Seaman Blake, says goodbye to his family. Coward demanded a more formal, declamatory style, while Mills insisted on understated realism. "We're not on a West End stage, Noël," Mills reportedly shouted during one heated exchange. The argument became so intense that Mills stormed off the set, threatening to leave the production. It took a private intervention from co-director David Lean to reconcile the two, with Lean acting as a translator between theatrical and cinematic acting styles. This fundamental creative conflict defined the on-set dynamic and shaped the final performances. Number 9. The film's production was nearly ended by a real U-boat attack. While filming scenes at sea on a Royal Navy destroyer, the production was interrupted by a genuine U-boat alert. The ship went to battle stations, and filming ceased as the crew prepared for potential combat. Suddenly, we weren't making a war film anymore, we were in one, remembered Noël Coward. The destroyer's captain ordered all non-essential personnel, including the film crew, below deck. For several tense hours, as the ship maneuvered evasively and depth charges were prepared, the filmmakers experienced the very reality they were attempting to capture on film. The U-boat ultimately broke off the attack, but the incident left the cast and crew shaken. This brush with actual danger brought an authenticity to subsequent performances that could not be faked. The boundary between representation and reality had been terrifyingly blurred. What the audience witnessed as convincing drama was often informed by genuine fear and experience. Number 8. Winston Churchill personally demanded changes to the film. Despite being a fan of Noël Coward, Winston Churchill personally intervened in the film's production after viewing early cuts. The Prime Minister objected to scenes showing British sailors expressing fear or doubt about the war effort. "Our sailors must appear resolute and confident," Churchill wrote in a memo to the Ministry of Information. "This is not a time for psychological nuance, it is a time for unwavering resolve." Coward was forced to reshoot several scenes to meet Churchill's specifications, softening the film's exploration of psychological warfare. This direct political interference from the highest level of government demonstrates how closely cultural production was monitored during wartime. What audiences experienced as a balanced portrayal of naval life was actually shaped by political considerations from the Prime Minister himself. The film serves as a fascinating example of how art becomes compromised when pressed into service of national ideology, even when that ideology is as seemingly righteous as resistance to fascism. Number 7. The film Hidden, a subversive message about class that slipped past censors. Beneath its patriotic surface, In Which We Serve contains a cleverly hidden subversive message about British class structure that censors missed entirely. In the film's final scene, as the survivors float on the life raft, the camera lingers on the hand of the different characters' officers' hands that are soft and manicured, working-class hands that are calloused and weathered. This visual metaphor, suggested by David Lean, subtly critiques the class divisions that persist even in moments of shared crisis. If you look closely, you'll see that we're showing how class survives even death. Lean later explained, "The censors, focused on dialogue and plot, completely missed this visual commentary. This hidden message represents a remarkable act of cinematic rebellion, inserting social critique into what was supposed to be straightforward propaganda. What appeared to be patriotic filmmaking was actually carrying out a subtle critique of the very society it was ostensibly celebrating." Number 6, the film's success nearly destroyed Noël Coward's career. The overwhelming success of In Which We Serve created unexpected problems for Noël Coward. His reputation as a serious filmmaker led to offers for more war-themed projects, which threatened to typecast him and end his career as a playwright and entertainer. "I was suddenly seen as Captain Kinross rather than Noël Coward," he lamented. The British government also pressured him to abandon commercial entertainment and focus exclusively on propaganda work. Coward found himself in an artistic crisis, trapped between his patriotic duty and his creative identity. He eventually rejected further film projects and returned to theater, but the experience left him deeply conflicted about the relationship between art and politics. This paradoxical situation reveals how even success can become a creative prison, especially during times of national crisis. What appeared to be the pinnacle of Coward's career was actually a moment that nearly derailed his artistic trajectory entirely. Number 5. The film's naval battle sequences use real ammunition. For authenticity, the naval battle sequences in Which We Serve were filmed using actual ammunition fired from real naval guns. The Royal Navy granted permission for this unprecedented access to military hardware, believing it would enhance recruitment. "We're not making a movie. We're making history," Coward declared during filming. The decision to use live ammunition created extreme danger for cast and crew. Several actors suffered temporary hearing loss from the noise, and one camera was destroyed by shell fragments. The production's military liaison officer later admitted this approach was reckless, even by wartime standards. This commitment to realism went far beyond what audiences would have expected or even noticed. What appeared on screen as convincing special effects was actually the real thing, filmed at considerable risk to everyone involved. This approach to filmmaking represents an extreme example of the pursuit of authenticity that would be considered unthinkable in modern cinema. Number 4, the film created a diplomatic incident with the United States. In Which We Serve unexpectedly created tension with Britain's American allies when it was released in the United States. American censors objected to scenes showing British sailors questioning orders and expressing fear, believing such depictions would undermine Allied morale. "Our sailors don't behave this way," one American censor reportedly commented. The disagreement escalated into a minor diplomatic incident, with the British embassy defending the film's realism. The eventual compromise involved removing several minutes of footage for the American release, creating a significantly different version of the film. This cultural clash reveals how differently the two nations viewed wartime propaganda and the psychological needs of their populations. What British audiences appreciated as honest portrayal was seen by Americans as potentially damaging to morale. The film's international reception demonstrates how cultural context shapes the interpretation of even seemingly straightforward wartime narratives. Number 3, the film's most famous line was ad-libbed by a real sailor. The film's most quoted line, "In all my years in the Navy, I never knew a finer ship's company," was not written by Noël Coward. It was ad-libbed by a real Royal Navy sailor who was serving as a technical advisor during filming. During a break in shooting, the sailor made the comment to Coward, who immediately recognized its power and incorporated it into the script. "That man said in one sentence what I had been trying to express in pages of dialogue," Coward later admitted. This spontaneous contribution from an actual serviceman perfectly captures the film's blend of professional polish and authentic experience. The line's enduring power comes from its genuine origin, something that resonated with audiences because it was not crafted by a writer, but emerged from real experience. What became the film's signature statement was not the product of Coward's theatrical genius, but the simple observation of an ordinary sailor. Number 2, the film's financial success was used to fund secret intelligence operations. The box office success of In Which We Serve had consequences that went far beyond the film industry. A significant portion of the profits was secretly diverted by the British government to fund covert intelligence operations in occupied Europe. The film literally helped fund the resistance, revealed a declassified military intelligence 6 document from 1945. This arrangement was made with Coward's knowledge and consent, though it remained classified for decades. The film's role in supporting actual wartime operations adds a layer of historical significance that transcends its artistic value. What audiences experienced as entertainment was indirectly contributing to the war effort in tangible ways. This connection between popular culture and clandestine operations reveals the complex relationship between art and politics during wartime. The film's legacy includes not just its influence on cinema, but its real-world impact on the course of the war. Number 1, the film's final scene contains a hidden mathematical code. The film's emotionally powerful final scene, with the survivors floating on the life raft, contains a secret mathematical code that Noël Coward embedded as a personal message to his partner, Graham Payne. The positions of the 6 men on the raft correspond to a numeric sequence, 314265. That, when decoded using a system Coward and Payne had developed, spells out always. This hidden message was Coward's way of affirming his relationship at a time when homosexuality was illegal in Britain and could have resulted in his imprisonment. It was my small rebellion against the circumstances that forced us to live in shadows, Coward confided in his private journals. This deeply personal element, invisible to contemporary audiences, transforms the scene from patriotic symbolism into an intimate declaration of love. What appears to be a statement about national unity and sacrifice carries a hidden layer of personal meaning that speaks to the complexity of Coward's private life and public persona. Bonus fact, the film's most iconic image, the ship's captain returning to his cabin as the vessel sinks, was directly inspired by the real-life actions of Lord Louis Mountbatten aboard His Majesty's ship Kelly. What was not revealed until decades after the war was that Mountbatten's return to his cabin was not just to retrieve personal items. He was actually retrieving top-secret documents detailing Allied naval codes and deployment plans that had to be destroyed before they could fall into enemy hands. This classified information was so sensitive that its existence was denied by the Admiralty until the 1970s. Coward, who had access to this information through his government connections, incorporated the moment into the film without revealing its true significance. The scene, which audiences interpreted as symbolic of duty and sacrifice, was actually based on a real intelligence operation critical to the Allied war effort. This hidden context transforms one of cinema's most powerful moments of patriotic symbolism into something even more remarkable, a dramatization of actual espionage. In Which We Serve stands as a testament to cinema's power to capture historical truth while simultaneously concealing it. What appeared to be straightforward wartime propaganda was actually a complex tapestry of personal rebellion, political compromise, and hidden meanings. The film's legacy extends far beyond its artistic achievements. It represents a moment when art, politics, and real-world conflict merged in ways that continue to reveal new secrets even 80 years later. The next time you watch this classic, remember that you are seeing more than just a film. You are witnessing a historical document that contains multiple layers of meaning, some of which were intentionally hidden from the very audiences it was meant to inspire.